Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say a huge thank you to Commissar Mel for sending in some awesome pictures of his Imperial Guard forces. This is a fun and fluffy list that unfortunately Commissar Mel is taking into a Shark Tank, but it's his last tournament before he goes off to med school, so we thought, you know what, why not go out with a bang? And you know what, Commissar, I truly respect that mentality. It's exactly the way 40k should be played. Massive thank you for sending this picture in and good luck at your tournament. I just want to say I really like the way you've done the bases. I know it's like a simple flock job, but there's just something nice about seeing classically flocked models. It's just takes me back to better days. So massive thanks for this picture in Commissar. If anyone else has got any cool pictures they want me to use in my videos, then please post them on my Facebook page, or you can email them to me at mordianglorytv@gmail.com. And don't worry if you're an ogre who's not had his bone head surgery yet, you can find all that information down in the description below. Without further ado, let's crack on with today's video. The other day, Patreon supporter Alex Dengal, thank you for being a Patreon supporter Alex, reached out to me and said, Morning Glory, could you do a video on Armoured Sentinels? I think they could make a really effective can wall now with Armour of Contempt. And I was like, you know what Alex, I can do that video because that actually sounds like a really cool tactic. So let's take a look at, can you make a good effective can wall with Armoured Sentinels? Now some of you are going to be asking, what the hell is a can wall? Is it better than a cannot wall? What is it? And basically a can wall, guys, is an old tactic that orcs used to do way back in the day, like I think it was 5th edition or 6th edition. And what they used to do is take loads and loads of killer cans because they were really cheap, and it was before vehicles had like hull points and stuff, and you could give them lots of defensive buffs and whatnot, and then basically make a big wall of them across the front of your army, walk them towards the enemy. They were really hard to kill, they were really durable, and they had pretty good output of their own, and they were basically a wall of steel and scrap metal that your opponent really had difficulty engaging with. I mean, back in 5th edition there were loads of other things you could do, like you could give them all the custom force field 5+ save, so they were really good, and units behind them got cover. That's just the mechanics of 5th edition, but can we get a similar effect from our own Armoured Sentinels? And why would we want to do this? Okay, what is in it for us to get the can wall, to get the Imperial Guard wall, the Sentinel wall? What is in it and how can we put it together? So let's take a look at that. Now that we know what the hell a can wall is, it's like a wall of steel, how can we build it? Well, why are Armoured Sentinels potentially the answer for us Imperial Guard players? So let's take a look at these stats for the Armoured Sentinel. I think it's important that we refresh our memory. What the heck are we getting here? Now, first thing to mention is that as of recording this video, it is 40 points. That's 40 points with whatever weapon option you want. Autocannon, heavy flame, and lance cannon, it doesn't matter. It's all 40 points, all right? Now, for that 40 points, you get a movement 8, weapon skill 4+, ballistic skill 4+, strength 5, toughness 6, wound 6, attacks 1, leadership 7, 3+ save vehicle. Now, that's actually quite a good stat line for quite a cheap vehicle. I mean, for 40 points, you're getting a 3+ save model, which has got 6 wounds and toughness 6. And we're focusing on the defensive stats of this thing, because what you've got to remember is the can wall, its main sort of strength was the fact that it was so bloody durable and annoying for its points cost. You could easily kill the killer cans if you put enough firepower into them, but it always took a disproportionate amount of firepower to kill one in order for you to get to break the can wall, and that was really, really annoying. And I feel like the Sentinel has got a decent stat line to emulate that kind of effect. I mean, it's 40 points for 6 wounds at toughness 6. I mean, it's not a great comparison. If you compare it to like Space Marines, for example, and you compare it to a couple of intercessors, that's going to cost you the same amount of points, but you've got two better wounds than those intercessors overall, and you've got 2 better toughness than those intercessors. So, but you've got the same armor save, and you both get Armor of Contempt now, which leads me on to the next point. So, yeah, this is quite a durable platform for the points that you're paying. So I mentioned Armor of Contempt before, and I think it is such a huge buff for guard vehicles, and Sentinels are no exception. Now, to be clear, Armor of Contempt affects all Astra Militarum vehicles. That is not just your Leman Russes, it affects your Sentinels too. It's from the lowliest vehicle to the mightiest vehicle, they've all got Armor of Contempt. Now, in case you've been living under a rock, Armor of Contempt means that you reduce all AP by 1. If you get hit by an AP -1 weapon, it becomes AP 0. If you get hit by an AP 2 weapon, it becomes AP 1. If you get hit by an AP 3 weapon, it becomes AP 2, so on and so forth. It reduces all AP by 1, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, Armoured Contempt is one of those rules that the cheaper you can spam it, often the more powerful it is for your army. So Armoured Contempt on Space Marines is really nice, but Armoured Contempt on Sisters of Battle is obnoxious, because a Sister of Battle is literally half the point of a Space Marine, but you're still getting the same save with Armoured Contempt, right? And so it's kind of like that, when you can take that kind of mentality for Armor Sentinels. Yeah, it's not got as many wounds, it's not got as better toughness as a Chimera, but at the end of the day, you're looking at that save value. And you can get 2 Sentinels for the price of 1 Chimera. And they both have the same save. In fact, the Sentinels have a couple of extra wounds over that. So if you can cheaply spam Armour of Contempt units, like an Armour Sentinel, it can be really, really powerful. Right? It's how much you can leverage that rule, okay? So spamming Armour Sentinels, and hell, maybe even Scout Sentinels, and really abusing that Armour of Contempt it's definitely got some legs, and that's no pun intended because of Sentinels, right? Now, other things that you can do with your Armour Sentinels that you couldn't do before is you can give them custom regiment traits. Now, when Armour Sentinels first dropped, they were pretty good bang for the buck, but they've only got stronger with things like custom regiment traits. Now, with the dropping of Armour of Contempt, one of the more popular custom regiment traits that you can get these days is Jury Rigged Repairs. Now, Jury Rigged Repairs means that basically at the beginning of the turn, on a 2+, you heal a wound on your vehicle. And if you actually get a 5 or a 6, you heal D3 wounds. Now, it didn't used to be that good, Jury Rigged Repairs, because people used to find that their guard vehicles just got picked up very quickly. Like, they were never around to self-repair. But with Armour of Contempt, I have been noticing that my vehicles are sticking around a lot longer. And that means that they're getting a lot more out of that regiment trait. And I think Armour Sentinels are no exception. So the fact that you've now got a vehicle that has a 3+ save, it ignores that first AP, in fact it reduces all AP by 1, and then if you don't kill it, it's going to start self-repairing. And the defensive buffs don't stop there. I mean, the fact you have access to a stratagem called Death Maneuvering, which means you select a unit of Sentinels, you spend 1 CP on the unit of Sentinels, and any time that unit of Sentinels takes any damage in the shooting phase, you reduce all of that damage by half. Okay, so now you've got a unit which is reducing your AP, it's halving the damage, which means you're not likely to kill them outright very easily, and again, unless you're really focusing them down, and then if you do not focus them down, they're going to start self-repairing. That's mad. And again, that's just the new defensive buffs that we've got. You can also then just use the good old defensive buffs that we've had for a while. You've got Tech Priests that can add another layer of repairing. You've got Psychers, which can put Psychic Barrier. Now you've got a 2+ save unit with Armour of Contempt. You can have another Psyker do Night Shroud, so you get a -1 to hit. And you can spread these buffs out across all of your Sentinels. I mean, think about it this way. Let's say you don't want to overbuff one unit because you don't want your opponent to just ignore it and then kill everything else around it, right? So you go, I'm going to do Death Maneuvering on one, Psychic Barrier another, Night Shroud another, Bish Bash Bosh. Now here's another thing to mention. Okay, a lot of people don't realise this, but Armoured Sentinels have got smoke launchers. Now, smoke launchers in the Imperial Guard Codex are not like smoke launchers in, let's say, a Space Marine Codex, where you can do them reactionary and you spend a CP and that one unit gets a -1 to hit. Smoke launchers for the Guard are old school smoke launchers, where basically instead of shooting, you can pop smoke, and you can do that with every unit that has smoke launchers. Now, you can only do this once per game, but it means that anytime anyone shoots you, it's -1 to hit. So now think about this. You've got your 3 units of Armor Sentinels. They are walking out across the line, okay? You have been able to give them -1 to hit, or you've been able to give them +1 save, you've been able to give them half damage, and now suddenly all those Sentinels, okay, they're not in range of anything, they're heavy flamers, I'll just pop smoke. That whole front line is now -1 to hit. That's just awful for your opponent to deal with in shooting. Absolutely awful. Don't forget Armour Contempt does help you in close combat, but Death Maneuvering and Smokescreen doesn't, just to mention that. So you're not going to be able to clear these Sentinels very easily with shooting at all. And if you try and you half-ass it, they're going to start self-repairing or getting repaired by a Tech Priest. So they're really, really quite durable now. When we think of all the defensive buffs we've just described, they're really fucking annoying to deal with. So we've talked about like defensive buffs that Sentinels can do, and it's all well and good them being really, really defensive, but what a good cannon wall can do is take the middle of the board, take that middle ground, and hold it and be annoying, and it allows you to go on the offensive. Now, at the moment, that's something that guard really, really struggles with. I know many of you will be feeling the same way as me at the moment. You've got no problem with killing stuff. It just feels like you get swept aside very easily. So you can sort of take ground, but you can't hold ground. Well, I think that Armoured Sentinels, with all of these buffs, allow you to take that ground and allow you to hold that ground. But what you need to do with the Sentinels is allow them to be able to do something when they're engaged in combat. Because if they're a wall, they're up front. Now, there is always that temptation with Sentinels to give them something like las cannons, because, hey, that's the best weapon now. If everything costs 40 points, give them the las cannons. I personally think the right way to go is to give them heavy flamers. Look, there's no point in giving them Sentinel Chainsword. It gives them an extra AP, it doesn't matter in an Armour of Contempt world, and guess what? They've only got one attack. They only hit on 4s. You can use Crush them on them so that they can hit on 2s, but it's still, again, it's only 3 attacks. It's just not worth it. What you might as well do is have these units that you don't need to fall back with. You know, maybe you really need to hold that ground, okay? Well, that's fine. You can really hold that ground. You just need to be able to stay in combat and still be able to do damage. We know what weapon allows you to do that. The Heavy Flamer. In fact, I recently took a list to a tournament where I put Heavy Flamers on everything and didn't care if people tagged me. I just burned my way out. Now, you can imagine if someone tries to tag or engage a full unit of these hyper-durable Sentinels in combat, and they don't kill them, they're suddenly going to be taking 3d6 heavy flamer shots back. Now, we've talked about Jury-Rigged Repairs as a regiment trait. I think if you're going down the cannon wall route, it pairs really, really well with the Gunnery Expert trait, because that allows you to reroll the random number of shots on any random shot weapon, and that includes heavy flamer. So suddenly you've got this cannon wall which is moving pretty quickly. And don't forget, you can move and advance your Sentinels and still pop smoke with them. Okay, so you move, advance, pop smoke, then if the enemy comes for you, you can spend a little bit of CP on Overwatch if you want to, burn them a bit more, and then if they don't kill you, you just stay in combat, and you stay on that objective and you just burn them out. And you might be like, well, you know, the Sentinels aren't OBSEC. No, they're not OBSEC, but guess what? You have them at the front covering the objective. Behind them is the other units, because that's the whole point of a wall, right? It doesn't do everything on its own. The wall protects other stuff. So you've got your Sentinels on the far side of the objective. What's covering that objective? Block of 30 conscripts, 20 infantry, anything really that you want, anything OBSEC. You just have it sat there, and it just means that the Sentinels take the damage, and they're just sat there just being like, okay, we're on the objective. So not only have you taken the ground, you've held the ground, and when it comes back around to your turn, or it comes to your opponent's turn, they haven't got the objective, and it comes to your turn, you have got the objective. And so you've solved one of those fundamental problems that Guard have really, really been suffering with at the moment, which is, I can take ground, but I can't hold ground. And I think that's massive. I don't think that can be overestimated. I think Armoured Sentinels really have that potential to finally fix that final piece of the puzzle that has been eluding the Guard community. Okay, maybe you don't need to take your 1 million infantry if you've got your cannon wall at the front and your infantry covered by it behind. You know, I think that we're just on the cusp of a Guard list just finally putting all the pieces together. And for me personally, I think a lot of us have been focusing on firepower recently, but we need to be able to focus on taking that ground. And outside of running like 300 Guardsmen, I think this is the way to do it. I really think that Armoured Sentinels have that ability to do that cannon wall, and they are disposable. At the end of the day, guys, if they all die, it's fine as long as they've bought you some time. You know, if they've absorbed loads of firepower for your Russes, great. If the opponent, you know, has had to spend 2 turns clearing them in combat, or even a turn clearing them in combat, that's a turn they weren't taking your guards off objectives, right? That was a turn, you know, going back to like shooting, that's a turn they weren't shooting any Russes, right? I really think the Armoured Sentinel has the potential. I really think it can do an effective cannon wall. But that's all for today now. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Is there any buffs that I've missed? Is there any sort of layers of defensive strategies that I've not considered? Or is there another combination that you know of that could make this strategy even more effective? Let me know down in the comment section below. Are there any other units that you've had similar success with? What about Bullgrims? Have you been able to have something similar with them? Let me know again down in the comment section below. I really hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please consider giving it a like and a subscribe and a comment. To be honest, guys, Any extra interactivity you can give this video gives it a massive boost. It means that the YouTube algorithm, the all-knowing yet mysterious YouTube algorithm, picks it up and starts pushing out to more people. It means more people can see the stratagem, and maybe it'll help them out as well. So if you have liked it, please consider giving it a like and a subscribe and all that good jazz. And if you've really enjoyed today's video and you want to go the extra mile when it comes to supporting the Mordian Glory channel, please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter. It's thanks to the very generous support of my channel members and of my patrons that I'm able to do this gig full time now, which is pretty mind-blowing, and it allows me to do more tactics videos, more content, cover more game systems, more armies, all that kind of good stuff. So if you want to see more Mordian Glory content, please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter. I just want to take a moment to say a big thank you to the latest channel members and Patreons. So massive thank you to Brian Lord, Extreme X-Wing, Wayne Lamb, Ed, Cadian Sergeant Steele, Alexi Mensa, Beku, Ryan Wilcox, Henrik Nilsson, Ryu Lord, and Zermi Zed for becoming channel members. Thank you guys, I really appreciate all of the extra support. Thank you for doing your part. I also want to say thank you to the latest Patreon supporters. So massive thank you to the Major 91, Matt Stanley, Alice O'Neill, Cool Amp, Jack Pascal, Stuart Francis, and Harvey Hanson for becoming Patreon supporters. Massive thank you to every single one of you. Patreon support has been the traditional way of supporting this channel, and it's really, really helpful. So thank you guys. I really appreciate all of that support you're giving me. Now I just want to take a moment to say a personal thank you to all of the top tier supporters of the Mordian Glory channel. These are the people that have truly gone above and beyond the Call of Duty when it comes to supporting the Mordian Glory channel. And honestly, I know I say this every time, but it's because it's still kind of mind-blowing to me, but their support is absolutely, it's humbling. Truly, like their generosity is something else, guys. So I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier War Master Patreons, and those are Navy Veteran, Philip French, Alex Stengal, John Stubbs, Nicholas Walsh, Swordfish Trombone, Diesel Fox, Ross Miller, Tom Sutton, and August Varney. Massive thank you, guys. I know I say this every single time, but your support truly is life-changing. It's massive. I can't say thank you enough. So I hope you guys know that I genuinely appreciate all of your support. I just thank you. Just thank you. But that's all we've got for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.